In this video, we'll examine two sets of maps that depict the history of the Israel-Palestine region. On the one hand, a popular series widely shared on social media that shows a dramatic shrinking of Palestinian land. On the other, a more detailed and historically grounded depiction based on facts, international decisions, and geopolitical developments. At the same time, we'll briefly look at the key historical events that shaped each stage to understand how these maps came to be. Our goal is not to attack any side, but to seek the full picture, based on data, not emotional propaganda. Let's dive in. Let's begin with the well-known map series that often circulates online. The message is simple: green is Palestinian land, white is Jewish land, and over the decades, Palestine seemingly vanishes from the map. But the reality behind these images is much more complex, and often different. The first shows nearly the entire area in green, labeled Jewish land and Palestinian land. The implication is that the green represents Palestinian ownership. But this is historically inaccurate. Starting the series in 1946, without showing what came before, gives the false impression that a Palestinian national entity already existed and controlled the land, which doesn't align with historical facts. In 1946, the area was under British mandate. There was no State of Palestine, and no internationally recognized Palestinian nation. The term Palestinian was used by all residents, both Jews and Arabs. For example, Jewish newspapers referred to Palestine, and coins and stamps of the time bore the word Palestine in English, Arabic, and Hebrew, showing it was a geographic, not national, term. So portraying the green as exclusively Palestinian land creates an artificial ethnic distinction that didn't exist at the time. Moreover, the green areas did not necessarily reflect legal land ownership, but rather land that was not owned by Jews. Many of these areas were public land under the British mandate or uninhabited zones like the Negev Desert, which is nevertheless shown entirely green. Meanwhile, densely populated Jewish cities like Haifa and Tel Aviv appear as small white dots, while vast uninhabited regions, deserts, swamps, and low-density farmland, are painted green, creating a visually powerful but misleading image. Bottom line: a map that makes a strong impression, but ignores the historical and political reality of the time. The second map shows the UN partition plan from 1947, which proposed the creation of two states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem under international administration. Israel accepted the plan. The Arab states rejected it and launched a war. Had the plan been implemented, today we might see two independent states with those borders. But the neighboring Arab countries chose a different path. After the 1948 war, Israel survives and gains more territory than initially allocated by the UN plan. However, the map omits the fact that Gaza came under Egyptian control and the West Bank was annexed by Jordan. Labeling these areas as Palestinian land is misleading, as they were not governed by Palestinians nor part of a Palestinian state. No Palestinian state was established in those areas, nor was it allowed by Egypt or Jordan. This key information is missing, leaving the impression that only Israel occupies land, while other occupations are ignored. The final map, showing the current situation, displays scattered green fragments indicating Palestinian presence. But here, the method changes. While the first map was based on population or land ownership, this one shows political control. If the same method were used as in Map 1, it would also need to show Israel's Arab citizens, over 2 million people. In addition, the maps ignore that Gaza and the West Bank came under Israeli control as a result of the 1967 Six-Day War, and that Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza in 2005, dismantling Jewish settlements. They also omit that Israel had captured the entire Sinai Peninsula, and returned it to Egypt in exchange for peace. So, these maps suffer from inconsistent methodology, historical omissions, and visual manipulation through color. They do not provide an objective picture of history. In the next part of the video, we'll look at an alternative set of maps, grounded in historical facts, recognized borders, and real-world events. In this part, we take a more level-headed look at the region's history. Instead of simplistic visuals, we examine developments based on historical context, recognized borders, conflicts, and the international agreements that shaped the maps. 1888, Ottoman Empire. The region was part of the Ottoman Empire. There was no state called Palestine. The term was used geographically, not as a national identity. Jerusalem, Galilee, and the wider region were governed by Ottoman officials, with no political autonomy for local Arabs or Jews. 1918 till 1946, British Mandate. After the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in World War I, the region came under British mandate with approval from the League of Nations. This is when the first tensions began. Jews and Arabs lived side by side, but with increasing national claims. The map clearly shows that no Palestinian state existed, only colonial administration. 1947, UN Partition Plan, Resolution 181. The United Nations proposed the partition of the region into a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem as an international city under special status. Israel accepted the plan. The Arab side rejected it, and war broke out, not from Palestinians, but from neighboring Arab states. It's worth noting that during the same period, most other countries in the region were also being formed: Jordan, 1946, Syria, 1946, Lebanon, 1943, Iraq, independence in 1932, all in similar fashion, following the collapse of empires and the end of colonial mandates. Israel was not an exception but part of this broader historical process of nation-building in the Middle East. 1949, after the First Arab-Israeli War. Israel won the war and gained more territory than had been proposed in the UN plan. The West Bank was annexed by Jordan, and the Gaza Strip came under Egyptian control. A Palestinian state was not created then either. The Arab countries themselves did not allow it, a fact often missing from simplified maps. After the war, around 700,000 Arabs fled to surrounding areas, mainly Gaza, the West Bank, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, a movement Palestinians refer to as the Nakba catastrophe. Meanwhile, about 150,000 to 200,000 Arabs remained within the new borders of Israel and became Israeli citizens. At the same time, around 850,000 Jews were expelled or emigrated from various Arab countries, and over half, about 586,000, settled in Israel. 1967, after the Six-Day War. Following a preemptive Israeli strike prompted by the buildup of troops along its borders, the Six-Day War broke out. Israel captured the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. The map changed dramatically, resulting from a war triggered by escalating tensions and military mobilization by neighboring states. Regardless of how responsibility is interpreted, the outcome was a major shift in territorial control. These areas would become the subject of future negotiations. 1979, Return of Sinai to Egypt. After the 1973 Yom Kippur War, an intense surprise attack by Egypt and Syria during a major Jewish holiday and with no clear victor, both sides entered into negotiations. Israel signed a peace agreement with Egypt and returned the entire Sinai Peninsula. The withdrawal took place under a bilateral deal, in exchange for recognition and peaceful conflict resolution, one of the most significant de-escalation efforts in the region's history. 2005 to 2025, from the Oslo Accords to today. With the 1993 Oslo Accords, the Palestinian Authority was established and gained limited self-rule in parts of the West Bank, including cities like Ramallah, Bethlehem, and Nablus. In 2005, Israel unilaterally withdrew from the Gaza Strip, dismantling even Jewish settlements. Control of Gaza later shifted to Hamas, and the situation deteriorated, with recurring violence and rocket attacks against Israeli territory. The peace process stalled, and the current situation, as shown on the map, is complex. Pockets of Palestinian control in the West Bank that emerged after Oslo, surrounded by Israeli areas, disputed zones, and a political process that remains unfinished. This map series does not attempt to glorify any side. It presents facts, not impressions. And it clearly shows that the region's history is not just a story of occupation, but one of ongoing conflict, missed opportunities, and hopes for peace that remain unresolved. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more content that explores complex issues with facts and balance. History doesn't fit into simple images, but we can illuminate it better by looking from all sides.